Good morning. We're here today with Karl, Managing Director of Kada Research. Good morning, Karl.
Good morning. How are you doing?
So far, so good. Thank you very much. And can you please introduce yourself and the company?
Yeah, so my name is Karl Dalgleish. I'm Managing Director of an economic development consultant that works in the UK and sometimes abroad, that does lots of research and economic analysis.
Fantastic. So, talking about your line of work, can you please give us a bit more insights on Kada Research? Well, most in demand, the line of business, and what actually differentiates you from the competition?
Sure, yeah. Shall I give you a little bit of a history as well, or would that be
Absolutely, yes,
helpful?
sir.
Yeah. So we were formed in 2011, November 2011. It was founded by me. Um, I have experience working for Sheffield Hallam University and for a big EU company in Birmingham and Leeds, and I ran a Scottish company in Sheffield. So I'd had about 20 years of experience and always wanted to go freelance. So really, the company started quite small, grew quite quickly. We did some quite high-profile work early on, but really over the years, I decided sort of 2015 to hire a small office at the Blades Business Centre, and then we kept growing. And in the end, we finally moved to Park Hill, which is an iconic building in Sheffield. If you've seen it, I'll send you a photo of that in February 2016. So we moved there. Um, and we've been at that office ever since. And we have grown so quickly that we've actually hired an office next door as well. Our work covers all sorts of things, really. We work on evaluations of programs. We develop business cases and funding bids and do impact assessments of different programs, quite big programs, sometimes quite high profile programs. We do research into all sorts of aspects of the economy, and we write strategies as well. And to give you an idea of who we work for, we work for local government, we work for universities. About almost a quarter of our work comes from universities, and over nearly a third of our work for local government or local enterprise partnerships. We also work with other people within our sectors, like other consultancies, bigger consultancies, architects, practice, that sort of thing. We do work for business support organizations, public bodies, health bodies, the third sector. So, Andrea, it really is quite diverse. And we think we are one of the main economic development practices in Sheffield. We're quite well known within Yorkshire and the Humber, but we do also work elsewhere in England. We do quite a lot in the east of England. We do a lot in London, the Midlands, the Southwest and Wales and other areas. But Yorkshire and the Humber, really, we've started to get embedded quite a lot. So we've worked in all four corners of the region. So in the Humber, we were involved in developing a lot of the strategies around the original energy estuary. That's moved a lot more to sort of renewables and sustainable. And we're now working on the north bank of the river for Haylep a fair bit, who are the Hull and East Yorkshire enterprise. So we've done a lot of work around international trade around the Humber. We did some quite high profile work around the EU exit. And I must admit, I was really surprised how many dynamic trading companies there are around the Humber, built up from a lot of its history. We've done a lot in North Yorkshire. And some of the stereotypes are true. There is a lot of agri-tech up in Yorkshire, but some absolutely fascinating and dynamic companies. And some of our research, we've done sort of video diaries and things, where we've been into companies and talked to MDs about their growth. So we evaluate programs. We've done a big sector strategy for North Yorkshire, looking at those really dynamic sectors and where the local enterprise partnership might run to work. We're currently working in West Yorkshire. So we've done an awful lot of work with the West Yorkshire Combined Authority. I'm giving you a bit of a regional flavour here now because you've got a regional sort of dimension. And we're working on sort of lots of business support programs. In South Yorkshire, we really have been, we seem to be working with most of the major organisations, the anchor institutions in South Yorkshire. So we're working with colleges, We've worked with Doncaster Chamber on a big assignment, strategic assignment this year, looking at the skills system. We're working with the South Yorkshire Mayoral Combined Authority. We're working on an economic strategy in Doncaster. We're doing lots of research in Rotherham, and we're working a lot with Sheffield City Council. And we're also working on some quite strategic projects for the university, looking at global clusters of excellence where they might focus their work in the future. And we're doing work with a number of the research bodies in Sheffield. And we're also just about to embark on a really exciting piece of work for the Advanced Manufacturing Innovation District. So we get involved in, as you can see, our work takes us right into the economies of Yorkshire and beyond. And we found that we've had to grow the team, reasonably quite significantly in the last few years to cope with demand. We were built on European funding, so we were very, very worried when the UK left the EU. My whole career has been built around European collaboration and funding, so that has been, it was a worry for us, but we found actually with coronavirus, the EU exit, there has been a demand for more research to understand what the impacts are of the cost of living crisis, the pandemic, where we might have UK successor funds. So we are actually still at a peak of work. Believe it or not, we're probably one of the few companies in Yorkshire still working on European funding. And we have, because European funding still lasts in the UK, the very, very last bits run out in June. So there is a massive demand to just finish off all those EU programs. So strangely, we are getting an EU blip. But at the same time, we're also preparing for UK successor programs. So, Andrea, we are in a strange situation of deepening in our work in the UK, having a massive peak of EU work. But I won't lie, we feel a UK-centered approach is a narrow one. So we are wondering whether we want to, how we might expand our international work, and that our vision is to continue those international connections. Some of those connections that have been lost, we believe there's a business opportunity to remake some of those connections. So we've had some great European collaboration work with, for instance, Italy. We work with Invest in Tuscany. We've done European innovation collaboration projects, and we've worked outside Europe too. And we do quite like doing our research outside the area in terms of international development. That fits quite well with our values. So that's a sort of potted history, Andrea. I mean, I can tell you lots more about, different projects and things. It's been quite an exciting time for us. I must admit, it's been a very fast pace of growth. So our turnover this year was 600,000, over 700,000 if you include VAT. We've grown from something like 4 staff to 11, and we have another director coming on board. With the board, we decided to get an advisory board to help us on our journey. So we have a sort of high-level business coach who's our chairman, Colin McGill. And we've got local advisors, an expert on marketing and an expert on finance. And then 2 of my other directors and myself sit on that board, and my wife, who owns part of the business. She's been in research for 25 years. So it feels a bit like a sort of family business. We're very conscious of the company culture, and that's a really important thing for our vision, to get everybody's fingerprints all over that 3-year vision that we've just designed for the company. So all the stuff, we had a big vision day with the board where the board met the staff. We got their views. They're fully behind us. They're up for this journey. We are moving at a fast pace. But they want to see us grow at least double in turnover within the next 2 to 3 years, which feels like we're going against the grain a bit, Andrea. And it is a little bit scary at times, because as you grow, you have to put in place the systems to accommodate that growth, whether it's sort of staff development or whether it's marketing. So we are spending a lot as we're building for growth. So that's also quite a challenge for us at the moment. So we've got marketing plans in place. We're very visible on that. We've just had a photo shoot. We're redoing our website. We've redone the brand. We really want to get a handle on our forward pipeline. One of the biggest challenges actually is managing cash flow. So that's, for us, has been, the work has been coming in, but getting it executed and build and things is a real challenge. Looking to the future, we're quite optimistic. We've got a good pipeline of work into next year. So we know we'll be okay at least until June. So that gives us a little bit of breathing space to be able to plan. We do anticipate making another couple of appointments. And longer term, we see the future as reasonably bright. We know there's going to be tough times for people ahead, but we also know that there's a lot of work to be done in terms of levelling up in the north. And we're very keen to support the business cases for lots of the big new investments in the region. So I was pleased that the Chancellor had promoted Northern Rail and a few other levelling up commitments. It's good that that's not completely gone. And we see ourselves supporting much of that continued development within the Yorkshire and the Humber region and further afield. That was a long answer to your question, wasn't it? But I'm assuming you want, you like a bit of depth, Andrea, for the interview, and you can take.
Absolutely. Now, based on your expertise and experience, which clearly you have, can you please tell us more about what you think about the Yorkshire economy as a whole?
I think it is a truly fantastic economy, and I'm always surprised when I go behind closed doors and visit companies and organisations about the dynamism that's within South Yorkshire and the wider Yorkshire and the Humber region. We've got some great corporates, some great foreign-owned companies, and some fantastic independents. And I think the Yorkshire and Humber region does particularly well at that. I think the Yorkshire and Humber region does suffer from, a number of economic challenges, not least we're quite heavy energy emitters. So there's a big job to do in decarbonisation and energy transition. And, the Humber's at the forefront of a lot of that stuff that's going on. But I do believe there's a big journey to go on there. And the Yorkshire and Humber could perhaps highlight a little bit more on a global stage, how fantastic it is. There are pockets of poverty in parts of the old coalfield areas in particular, and some of the old industrial areas, for instance, of West Yorkshire, some of the coalfield areas and steel areas of South Yorkshire. So it's important to continue to support that restructuring. I also think the labour force in Yorkshire and the Humber still is suffering from, or parts of the labour force are still suffering from some of that industrial legacy, which has affected some of the health and the ability of people to engage in the workforce. So I do believe there is more that needs to be done on skills in South Yorkshire and access to workforce. So it is a little bit of a worry that some of the employment programmes at the moment, there seems to be a bit of hiatus. I do think the skills sector is changing a little bit to respond better to employers, and that's something that we could do better, definitely in Yorkshire and the Humber. The other big thing is about place. We are a fantastic region in terms of natural assets and national parks, and we have some excellent market towns and cities. Some of our high streets really are suffering at the moment, so there is a little bit of reinvention going on at the moment, and we've seen that people like to invest in place and green assets and blue and green infrastructure. So that will be an important thing in terms of supporting the quality of life and the vibrancy and vitality of our high streets, over the next decade or so. But certainly we lack a lot of the institutional investment and speculative investment, for instance, in South Yorkshire that you might see in other big cities. And it's important that investors are aware of what's available and what the potential is of Yorkshire and the Humber. I don't feel we always get our fair share up here, and certainly that would be something that we would hope to see for the region.
Fantastic. So just going back to one of your answers a couple of minutes ago, you did mention some your targets for the company for the next couple of years. So what strategies do you think will be necessary to achieve these targets?
Yeah, sure. So we're looking at least sort of 30% annual growth. Longer term, we'd like to look at employee ownership and whether there's potential for employee ownership. We think we might need to grow to 17 at least staff. We'd like very low turnover, so we recognise that the culture will be really important to achieve our vision for 2025. So we want to develop really supportive a really supportive working environment. We want to live our values. We've got strong values about the advice that we offer, being equal and sustainable. And we want staff to be part of that change. So teamwork's really important for us. We want to work better with our clients and understand our key work areas. So it might be that we open another office, we develop key strategic areas. We want to be the go-to people for economic development in Yorkshire and the Humber. We've got an awful lot of training at the moment, and we want to keep investing in our staff, both internally and externally, around, for instance, economic impact techniques. We want to embed sort of financial and commercial planning as well. We are a business, so part of it's important for that. And we've got a very clear progression framework for staff and a career development process where it's clear what the competencies are, at each level. So everybody's sort of working towards where they want to work to within the business. So really, the next year for us is about embedding a lot of the growth that we've had and getting some practical operating systems in place. As I said, we're just working on sort of capacity and financial management, and we've invested heavily in marketing this last year. I think this coming year will be much more around commercial and financial planning, and I think that's really important for us.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Karl. It's been a pleasure to meet you today. And if you'd like to know more, please visit the Kada Research and reach out directly to Karl. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.